Hi, everyone. It's Jen Balco from Always On My Way. As always, thank you for finding our videos and joining us on this channel. It's always an honor for me to be here in this space and sharing these few minutes with you. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the strange curves and detours that life takes us through. And like many of you, the journey isn't always a straight line. There's a lot of ways to get to where you are in this moment. And for me, that journey, my life's journey, has taken me down a path to become a meditation teacher. And it's true, really. Just today, I got my meditation certification so I can start teaching meditation and giving this gift to the world. And it was a program that I did with the Tibet House in New York City and with the calm, abiding, and inspirational teacher, David Nichtern. And really, I'm teaching now. On the link below, there's a link below that you can access a 7-minute mindfulness meditation recording if that's something that's interesting to you. But how did I even get to this moment in time where I'm now a meditation teacher? If you would have asked me this 12 months ago, I would have had no idea that that was even on the table for me. I had been meditating for about 10 years, on and off, mostly on, but I had never considered really teaching. It's not an idea that filled my head or heart space years ago. But life shows up in different ways. And life showed up for me in a different way this year. And it gave me an opportunity to follow an impulse for freedom that is aligned to my bigger goal of becoming more visible and to stepping into a space of being a teacher, of being a mentor, of being a space holder. But to get a little bit more deeper into this story, we'd have to look at the long, winding path that is my life. And over the course of the next few months and the next few videos, I'll start showing you where some of these intersections showed up in my life and how they showed up and how I decided to follow them. Maybe it's courageous that I did some of these things, and maybe it's just more about being in tune with what's on the table and what the invitation is, and whether it was my time to accept it. But for now, for this moment in time, let's simply just rewind back to around this time last year in 2019. Let me set up the scene for you. I had in June of 2019 finished a 3.5-year walk across Asia and Europe. I took the summer off to reconnect with family and friends and people that I had worked with, and I was trying to reestablish my non-walking life. I sat back down at my desk, I pulled out my computer, I began to do the freelance writing work that had been my life from about 2004 to 2016. And that career was built on my journalism career, which started even further back in the 1990s. So last year, it made sense to me, at least superficially, that I would try to return to this way of being. It was the way I had made money for most of my adult life, and I figured I could still do it. By October of 2019, I felt that I was failing in this return to my non-walking life that included freelance writing. It was a big eye-opener for me. I just could not get used to sitting 10 hours behind a computer screen writing stories that didn't really satisfy me. I wanted to go deeper. I wanted to explore different stories in different ways. I wanted to share stories in different ways. I wanted to share what I learned on this walk and how it's shifted me. But I needed to pay bills. I suddenly had all those bills again that you have to pay: the electricity bill, the internet bill, rent, everything. So I had to keep plugging away, doing what was an old version of me. Fall turned into winter, and I just kept feeling like I was being pulled in the wrong direction. I kept feeling like I was going backwards. And with a very strong Sagittarius in my natal birth chart, going backwards is never a good move for me. I'm a forward-looking person, and life was beginning to show up for me in different ways. Around my birthday in January of 2020, I began to take stock of this unsettled feeling that was coming up for me, this nerve-wracking sense that I was becoming the version of me that I didn't really know anymore. And it wasn't easy for me to go back to the life that I had before I walked 10,000 miles across 2 continents. This routine actually became harder for me than the walk. And the walk was very difficult. So I found myself at another intersection. What am I going to do? If I'm not meant to do freelance work in the way that I was doing it before, what is it that I can do next? And I began to write down words. I began to sketch out the ideas and the dreams and the things that I wanted to hold space for. And things like author and speaker and space holder and compass holder and mentor. These are the words that started to show up for me. And yeah, so did the word instructor and teacher. And as I was going through this, we're moving now into the pandemic crisis, in lockdown mode. And all of this uncertainty began to pile up on me. Of not only was I nomadic for 3 years of my life, but now I have to stay inside. And I have to create this new life behind a screen all day long. The options, there are so many options, and then there are so few options. The idea of sitting behind a screen after being outside 24 hours a day for years really shook me. And it forced me to reconsider if it was time for me to transition. These ideas that I was starting to have about what was next, I thought, okay, in 2 years when I'm 50, this is the direction I'll start moving in. Well, as soon as I started to put all those words on the paper, other cosmic breadcrumbs started to come into my space. There was an email over here about a class that I wanted to take. A friend that I hadn't been in contact with for a long time, who always had brilliant ideas, reached out and we had a Zoom call. I found another course that was looking at life purpose. And I started to connect all these different dots in my own life. And what I started to recognize is it was this impulse for freedom that kept showing up. This impulse for freedom has marked my life journey in many ways for 48 years of my life. And it's only really in the last probably 10 years that I recognize that I have an impulse for freedom. And maybe it's intuition, or maybe it's some other dynamic that pulls me towards my path. But when I notice these little doses of magnetic joy coming into my life, which I call these cosmic breadcrumbs. I find them irresistible, and I know I have to leap in. One of those breadcrumbs came in the form of an email on April 3rd. This was the peak of our pandemic crisis, when we had the most number of cases and the highest number of hospitalizations. It was within a couple days of that peak. And the email was from David Nichtern announcing a new online 100-hour teacher training program in conjunction with Tibet House. In pre-COVID times, this class would have been an improbable path for me. The physical presence in New York City over several weekends for 3 to 4 months was out of reach for me. I couldn't financially justify flying back and forth between Europe and New York City to take a meditation class. But it was the pandemic. It was lockdown. It was an online digital experience, and that was game-changing. Why not? Why not? What do I got to lose? Let me think about this. I read the email 4, 5, 6 times. I went online, read the course outline over and over again. I sat with it in meditation and I visualized myself being a teacher and wondering if I was really stepping into this role, and beginning to put in motion plans that I had started thinking about in January of 2020, and plans that I thought I wasn't going to implement until January 2022. But here it was, April of this year, and there was this invitation to become a meditation teacher. There was that light bulb moment. There was that, oh, look at what meditation has done for me in my own life. In all the years that I've been practicing, I probably have not fully acknowledged or appreciated what the gift of meditation has given to me. And this is everything from just being able to focus better, and being able to concentrate more, and be able to be in a silent and still place, getting control of my racing mind, and then bringing a more grounded presence back into the world. It hadn't really occurred to me that meditation was partly responsible for my presence in the world, and how I showed up in my own life, and how I showed up for others. So I sat with this and I continued to examine this as a possibility for me. If meditation in my life was so valuable, I began to ask myself if it could be as valuable to someone else, especially now as so much uncertainty is being churned up with the virus, and so many facets of our lives are being touched with ongoing uncertainty. Could I actually teach this? Could I offer this gift and this service to other people? Yeah, I could. Do I want to? Yeah, I do. And that's when the snowball started to happen. In a flash, with that inner knowing that I've now come to recognize as the moments that show up in my life where I have to make choices that were not even previously anywhere on my radar screen, I chose to sign up for this meditation teacher training program. It was within 72 hours of receiving that email, and I knew everything in me was telling me to do it. Life began to show up for me now not 2 years from now. And it was up to me to start stepping into this space. If you would have asked me again a year ago that I would be a meditation teacher today, would not have even seen it coming. Not even anywhere on my radar screen. And yet, here I am, with certificate in hand, going down a new life course. I signed up for this class and I showed up for myself. But I realized that I also showed up for you. And you may not even realize it yet. Whether you recognize it or not, and hopefully you will recognize it soon, 2020 is presenting us with a lot of new intersections and choices. You might be at an intersection. I may be one of the cosmic breadcrumbs showing up in your path. I don't know how I may have shown up here. You may not know how I've shown up here. But maybe there's something pulling you in life that wants to take you in a new direction. Maybe you thought your compass was pointing you in this direction, and now you suddenly realize that the course is actually set in the other direction. And you have to choose whether or not you want to set the course back to where you thought you were going, or if the new path that is rising up at this intersection for you is really where life wants to take you and where you want life to take you and where you want to take you. Maybe meditation will help you find whatever's next for you. Maybe it will give you the tools and the techniques that you need to examine your own thoughts and feelings. And maybe it will give you a way to sit and be with yourself and really ask the hard questions about where life wants to take you next. If any of this resonates with you, please go ahead and click the link below. There's a 7-minute, 7-day meditation challenge waiting for you. And maybe it will open a new door for you. Maybe our paths will intersect again in another way. And maybe you'll let me know in the comments what sort of cosmic breadcrumbs are showing up for you now and what you're choosing to follow. Thanks for finding me on my path, and I'm looking forward to connecting. Stay tuned, there'll be some more videos coming up, and I am posting on the 1st and 3rd Wednesdays of every month. Thank you so much. See you soon.